All right, and we're live. Welcome, everybody. All right, let's get everything set up and let's get some boards repaired. All right, so our patient today is going to be R007 B650, tiny little thing. This assembly was a pain and I broke it a little bit. I pulled one wire and I pulled one of the sockets. It's a power socket for the fan, so we'll fix that later. But it's not a good sign when that's what happens. But what are you gonna do? All right, I probably should have put everything back in the box, but I'll figure it out. I also usually I put the screws back in the heat sinks and stuff, but I was trying to do it quickly before the stream, so I just put everything in the box and I figured I'll figure it out later. Let's see, where's our chat? Here it is. Lead Farmer, how you doing, man? Hellraiser socket replacement. Name I would use if I did this. Okay. I can always rename it later, right? Alright, but first, the board doesn't have an outline. So let's... I actually noticed that because I wanted to do one of those little ones because they're easy, because they don't bend and stuff like that. So this should be low-hanging fruit, but then I noticed that it doesn't have an outline, and that's gonna suck. Without an outline, boards have very limited success rate, but what are you gonna do? You also have to do the ones without an outline, right? So let's just do the... And also most like, although this white marker is pretty easy to remove, usually. But usually without an outline, the board is unlikely to get RMA'd. And for some reason, the marker doesn't want to be white. I think I need to use another one. Come on, marker. Do your job. Be white. Okay, well, we'll see. I wouldn't hold my breath for this one, because if the board repair starts with problems, you know, I couldn't disassemble it and stuff wouldn't leave the board properly, then usually that's the device that doesn't like you and it's gonna be difficult. So I'm not gonna hold my breath, but here we got an outline. All right, what do we have? Let's find Farmer. Tuesday night, work late for me. Few more weeks of this. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. And we have Dr. Ima Peck UK for £5. Thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Maybe I'll be able to pay my rent this month. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. All right, now what we gotta do is put the holder so we can hold it. Holder that holds. There you go. Dream spec. Dream spec? You mean the board has dream specs? Or is it the music? Because I don't know. This is AI generated music, so or at least as far as I know. Obviously, I didn't make it. All right, let's connect the thermocouple. Let's get some power. Power to the machines. Come on, machine. There you go. We got power. Now, the board. So these tiny little boards, they are a lot easier to work with. They heat up quickly, they don't give you much problems, they don't flex as much. You don't get these issues where PCH is gonna detach and cause issues because of the board bending and stuff. So that's why I chose this one for the stream. We're gonna do a few more. Fan switch off, nozzle down. Center the socket. Okay, that looks good enough. It doesn't have to be exactly in the center. Tighten the ship and put the thermocouple on. There. That should do it. Now the bottom thermocouple is sitting on the cups. You don't want to do that. If the bottom thermocouple sits on the cups, especially when there's a little bit of tension on it, as the board is flexing, the thermocouple is going to move, and it's going to move your cups at the bottom. You don't want that. It's a pain. Now let's prep the soldering iron and let's get the tip. I finally got that Nintendo Switch done, the port replacement. The unit works perfectly fine. It did give me a lot of issues. The video will go up probably tomorrow morning. I already cut it, I just gotta do the thumbnail and it should be good. Oh, Dream Spec. Okay, thank you, Lead Farmer. Because I read DR, so I figured that's Doctor. Yeah, that's Dream Spec UK. Sorry about that, Dream Spec. I guess I renamed you. See, I'm not too sharp. Okay, let's see. Let's get the camera looking at the socket. There you go. All right, but we would like to see the chat as well, so let's add a browser existing YouTube chat, and I guess we don't need to look at my face, we can just I'll be here. just so we can see the chat when we're preheating. All right, and now for the main attraction, Rework Pro. And let's go to config, refresh, and I think that was COM8. Oh, my mouse doesn't work on the Rework Pro, but that's okay. Connect, and we're connected. Okay. So I had a few questions regarding Rework Pro, controlling the bottom heater. Although it doesn't control the bottom heater, because there's no way. Someone said that Psoft controls the bottom heater, but it cannot control the bottom heater unless you connect the second output to the PC410 controller. I'm not sure if mine actually supports second heater. But it is connected, they are bridged together. So once the PC410 turns on, the Rex can turn on. But the temperature that you set on the Rex, you set it manually over here on the machine. So no, you can't control Rex from the software. But the way it works, if I set 100 right now on the bottom heater, and if I just hit long preheat and set it, say, to 15 minutes, I can start the profile afterwards, right? So it'll automatically start selected profile, and I start here, then the top heater is not going to turn on, the bottom heater is. And I have some features in the works regarding actually controlling or having a little more control over that, meaning if you place the thermocouple, the second thermocouple, not like I do, but actually touching the board, then you can tell Rework Pro to preheat just like you do in the profiles here. You just hit wait for bed, right? And you put bed temperature to say 160, right? And it'll start the profile as soon as the temperature at the bottom reaches 160, right? Or 210, I usually do 210 for socket replacements. But at the moment, the way we do it is when you connect to the community and you get my favorite profile, my universal, it should be here, yeah. Universal socket replacement by RAV, right? If you load this one, so the bed temperature, you see that it doesn't have it here, but you would put like 210 and wait for bed, right? For the preheating. So it will go to 185 at the top, or it will not turn on the top heater until the bottom heater reaches 210 degrees. But I like to have a little more control over that, so I don't rely on automated stuff. I just hit long preheat and I just wait. And right now I set it to 100 degrees because I want the board to heat up slowly, to slowly bring it to the temperature. That reduces flexing and overall is better for the board. Overall, it's much safer, but there are risks either way. What's your favorite tweezers to grab sockets? Actually, I don't. Key and peel teacher with names. I posted it in Discord. So this is the tweezers that I use for socket lifting, right? They're quite bent, they're not quite precise anymore because I use it inappropriately. Like I scrape stuff and I do stuff that I shouldn't be doing with these. Next tweezers that I will buy, I will use them properly, only for one purpose, and I'll keep these to do other stuff. Less important stuff. This wick is awful, but maybe it'll work. But let's see, do we have some wick that will work? I'm running out of wick. I gotta restock on wick. Okay, this one should do. There's a little blood for you. Blood sport. I grabbed or tried to grab scissors a little too quickly, and I hit my tweezers. That usually happens. Let's spray it with alcohol. Put some paper towel on it, rub some dirt in it, and be a man, right? That's how we used to do it back in Soviet Union. Okay. Now, what are you guys drinking? It's late evening. I got myself some Heine. I guess maybe this will work. I have to reposition it. The important part is for the thermocouple to always be touching the board, even when it flexes. 0 days without accident. Yes, sir. Yeah, we gotta change that 1 to 0. Back to 0. Okay, looks like we have 70 at the top. The bottom's already at 93 degrees. To 100 degrees, it's pretty easy to preheat. But one thing that I do with this, why am I preheating it in a few cycles? Because first I want to get a feel for the board, because every board is going to be different. So as soon as it reaches 100 and it stabilizes at 100, I want to see the temperature at the top. If the temperature at the top is 70 degrees, so we're like 30 degrees, we got 30-degree difference between the bottom and the top. That tells me a lot about the board, how quickly the board dissipates heat. And based on that, sometimes I have to adjust the top temperatures. Sometimes I have to adjust how long before I start removing the socket and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I do it. So bottom is at 100 degrees and it should stabilize, so we'll see. Hopefully the top will go to 80. That's a good sign. 85 is awesome. If it stays at 75 like right now, that's a bad sign. Or by bad sign I mean we're gonna have to adjust for that or account for that discrepancy, because that means the board is dissipating very well, which means it's a good board, sure, but not a pleasant board to do socket replacements on. On some boards, when I preheat the bottom to 100, I have 90, 92 at the top, which is like awesome. That means the board is flimsy, it conducts very quickly, and it's hot in the shop. Yeah, at some point you might see me removing my shirt, but I do have a t-shirt underneath. But it might get a little hot. Now let's clean the socket, because these sockets, well, these ones actually they came in plastic covers, or the plastic bags. But normally when you get these off AliExpress, they come in basically tissue paper, which leaves a lot of specks, tiny little specks of that tissue paper, which in turn is going to mess up your process. But you don't want to scrape too much of these, because sometimes when I scrape too much, I'll move the bowl or basically damage the socket. And sometimes, sometimes they come in damaged. So, always before you replace it, always look at the socket from few angles and see if there's some balls missing, some balls touching, and that kind of stuff. But this one looks good, so it's ready. What time we got? 6 minutes 51 seconds of preheating. So when you start preheating, Rework Pro will start the timer automatically, and you set your hourly rate and it tells you how much money you should charge for it. What do we have? Crypto Dream 8870. Hello sir, how you doing? What do we have? 77, 78. Looks like it's stabilized at 77, 78. So 80 would be excellent. Well, 82, 85 would be excellent. 78, it's not bad. It's not bad. So this shouldn't give us much problem. So I'll keep the profile as it is. I'm not going to be adjusting it. But it looks like it's fluctuating between 77 and 78. Also, you want to watch those fluctuations at 100 degrees, because that also tells you how well your thermocouple is touching the board. Because if it's not touching the board properly, then you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have a bad time, and you want to have a good time. Okay, yeah, looks like it stabilized. 70. Oh, it dropped to 76. Okay, so that is not good. That is not good at all. So let me adjust the thermocouple again. Like this, 78, and let's see if that will stabilize it. Yeah, it's not touching very well, but there's not much I can do with it right now. But let's see. This should stabilize it. So as soon as I see a flat line on the red, right? I don't want to see those fluctuations. As soon as I see flat line, oh, and now we grew to 79 even. So good. It might take a few minutes before the top of the board reaches the temperature, but now we're just basically testing the board, how well it conducts heat. Yeah, we're gonna wait until 10 minutes maybe, so 1 more minute, but it looks like it's stabilizing, so it should be fine. That means the thermocouple is attached properly, or at least good enough. Oh no, we got 76 now. That sucks. Okay, it's not gonna be easy. Because that essentially means that any kind of draft, like if I do this, the temperature drops. See that? 76, 75, 74, right? Because I'm creating a little draft. That means the thermocouple doesn't take the temperature, doesn't take the measurement very well off the board. So the best option in my experience is when you get a Kapton tape, do a little loop-de-loops on the cable, put the thermocouple flat on the board, and put massive amounts of Kapton tape, but do not cover the actual thermocouple, just the cable, because if you cover the thermocouple, you're going to burn the board. So that is the best option that I found, but it's problematic. It's not scalable. First you have to prep, the board prep takes a while, and then once it detaches during the procedure, you have to stop the whole thing, cool the board down, clean it, and reattach the thermocouple. So I just don't, yeah, it's just not scalable. Okay, we got 76. All right, so we are 20, 24, 25 degrees off. Well, we just need to keep that in mind then. It will work. I've seen worse. Okay, now let's up to 150. So now the board is gonna start flexing. This is not something that you can notice easily when you watch the process live, but you can see it very clearly in my sped up footage in my videos. When the board heats up, it slowly goes down, right? Then as soon as you remove the heat, it returns to its position, to its original shape, right? All right, we are at 106 at the bottom. So now top is growing nicely. So the procedure I usually start when I have at least 140 at the top, right? Which is close to like 190 at the bottom, 195, 200. It can grow as high as 160, but that's why I do it on 100 degrees. On 100 degrees, I don't want to see more than 30 degrees difference. If there's more than 30 degree difference on 100 degrees, something's not right. Something's not measuring right. But that difference starts growing the higher the temperature is. So we got about 25 degree difference on 100 degrees. On 200 degrees or 210 at the bottom, we're gonna have maybe 40, 45 degree difference. Something to be aware of. And we're at 93. I've seen other people using the suction cups, right? These chip lift devices for lifting the sockets, but I think they use hot air, not IR. But I've seen them. The socket has the cover on it, and they just grab it like this, right? And they lift it like this. It's pretty cool, but I don't know if that would work with IR, because technically that plastic is gonna stop the radiation, right? It's gonna take that heat. It probably won't melt, because it shouldn't melt below 260, but I don't know. I do it my way. It works for the most part, at least. And heating, removal, especially on the AM5s, it's not a problem, because you don't have the cups in the middle. So removal, I think, on the AM5, plus AM5s are built in the way, the boards, AM5 boards, are built in the way that there's nothing around the socket, right? There's a big space around the socket. So you have a lot of room to maneuver usually. Sometimes there's some stuff close to it, but for the most part, AM5 boards have a lot of room around them, around the socket. And you don't have to worry about the cups inside. So that's why I picked the AM5, because I have few of these little boards for socket replacement, but it's a 1700 socket. So it's a little more hassle. It also takes a little more heat. It's fewer pins, because this one is 1718, right? Or 1817, whatever. Around 1800 pins, right, to resolder. So AM5 and 1700 are pretty much the same pin-wise, but the arrangement of them, the 1700 is a lot wider, so you have to heat up wider space, right? And the ground is in the top left corner, so usually if you don't heat it well enough for everything to solder on, that top left corner is going to be lifting. So, but that's something that we can catch even before you remove it from the preheater. So it's relatively easy to correct. I've also had that was initially when I was starting doing these. I've had because on AM5 the top half is going to be hard to solder. The bottom half has more data lines and stuff like that, so it sits quickly. But sometimes, or one time, I had a problem where the top didn't solder on. Right, it was lifting. But I just put it back on the heater, blasted it with some heat, and it sat. Okay, the preheating is done because I set it to 15 minutes only. So let's set it to 20 minutes now. Just so, because I will stop the process when I'm ready to start the profile. Profile is already loaded, and it's a profile I usually use. Now you can see why I speed up the footage when I do this. It's relatively uneventful, and without Rework Pro it would be really crappy to watch, because you can only watch these little numbers on the controller. I know. So yeah, at least Rework Pro that gives you that monitoring and preheating and stuff. Yeah, I can't imagine doing this without Rework Pro now. That's why I made it. That's why I created this tool. Because I needed something reliable. We got 141 to 110, so we are 30 degrees apart, bottom and top. So as you can see, it's growing. The higher the temperature, the more apart we're gonna be. Are we there yet? I'll let Farmer know we are not there yet. And if you keep bothering me, I'm gonna turn this car around and we're going back home. Okay? Yeah, my son loves to tease me like that when when we're going somewhere and he starts being bored. He does the same thing. Are we there yet, Papa? Are we there yet? Yeah. But as you can see, the chat, you see the chat is live now, right? It's not top chat, it's live chat. It was stupendously easy to figure out in OBS. When you select the browser, you have a big button right in front of you saying interact. And it opens the window where you interact and you can switch it. So bullet trains someday. Yeah. No, those bullet trains turn out to be not as practical. You know, it was the same problem that the Concorde had, and Concordski, the Russian equivalent, the stolen technology by Russians. And you know, the plane could fly at the speed of Mach 2 or even higher. So that's, you know, twice the speed of sound, which means you could fly from, you know, from Europe to United States, you know, say from London to New York in like 2 hours, something like that. I don't remember the exact times, but relatively quickly, right? So everybody thought that is the technology of the future, right? But that future never came. We don't have supersonic planes. All the planes, the commercial planes, are subsonic. And why is that? Because it wasn't practical. Sure, you get the major benefit of time. You know, it's a quick trip, sure. But for every hour in the air, Concorde had to spend, I don't remember what the equivalent was, but I don't know, 6 hours of maintenance. Or 10 hours of maintenance for every hour it's in the air. You know, so that is really maintenance heavy. And that accident, that that plane that burned down during takeoff, maybe it did speed up the the process of retiring those aircraft, but it wasn't the deciding factor. The deciding factor was already there. They were just not practical, too expensive, too hard to maintain, too dangerous as well, and few people had to pay with their lives when it crashed. So sometimes future is not what we expect, because it's the planes that fly nowadays, the subsonic planes, they fly for weeks or even months before they need any maintenance. They just land on one airport, refuel, go to the other airport, refuel, other airport, and they just keep going and going, right? And once in a while you have to do some maintenance on them. And with Concords, one flight and then 2 weeks in the hangar, or something like that. And even that wasn't enough to prevent disasters. Okay, we're at 150. Let's do 185. Next level, next step up. There's a new one being made. It is in testing. New supersonic in future. Well, as I said, they're not going to go around the problem of supersonic planes being expensive in maintenance. That's something that has not been resolved yet, and will not be resolved, because it's just expensive. No way around that. And we don't want expensive. We want cheap. We want reliable. And if you have to spend 3 more hours in the air as opposed to the other one, but you pay $20 for the ticket instead of $200 for the ticket, then which one are you gonna choose? What can you possibly be in a rush for to require the plane to be this fast, for your trip from London to New York to take 2 hours instead of 6 hours? All right, what do we have? 161. I ran out of beer. Let me refuel. And I just remembered that I only had breakfast in the morning. Oh no, actually I didn't have breakfast, I had lunch. So yeah, that wasn't that long ago. I guess like 6, maybe 5-6 hours, maybe 7 hours ago. So I had something to eat. So I should be good. Normally I don't do socket replacements this late, but I figured, what the hell. Had a pretty busy day. I couldn't open that ECM, that the one for motorhome. The customer was disappointed, but I'm not gonna risk damaging it, especially since we can't find a replacement. And we had a short discussion on whether this could be something other than the ECM, and theoretically it could. So maybe it's not an ECM issue after all, but I don't know. But he didn't ask how much does he owe me, so I didn't mention the bench fee. Because, you know, at least if I opened it and I noticed that, well, sorry, I can't recap it because the cups are on the other side, I can get to the other side and nothing I can do for you, then, you know, I would probably send a link, the payment link to the bench fee. But since I didn't really do anything, you know, it just landed on my bench and nothing else. I mean, I did do something to it, right? I started, you know, cutting that adhesive. So I did do something technically, but not much result. So I figured, screw it, I'm not gonna charge you for anything. But technically, the bench fee is for, you know, for bench fee. You know, anything that lands on my bench, you owe me a bench fee, right? Or if I fix it and everything, then I don't charge bench fee. I just charge for the repair, right? So that's usually how I do it. But I don't know. Every case is unique. I don't have to upload this video. I'll upload it today, but I'll schedule it for tomorrow morning. And I have an ECM we gotta do, and thank God we have some influx of ECMs this month. I think this is like number 4 or 5 this month. We have one return that I need to refix. Yeah, grinder wheel fee. yeah, that is the whole idea, right? That, you know, anything you send in, you know, you are committed into, you know, paying something, because someone's got to take a look at it, right? That's already a little bit of value in that, right? If the technician even looks at your device and, you know, tries to diagnose it, or, you know, or gives you some info at least, right? But I don't want to be too excessive with those, because, you know, I don't like to pay for, if I get no value, I don't like to pay for that. So likewise, I'm not gonna charge someone for providing zero value, right? There's gotta be at least something. At least you open the device, at least you diagnose, like, you know, that Yaesu radio, right? That you know, I couldn't fix it because I couldn't get the parts. They no longer provide parts for those, right? So I couldn't do anything, but I did open it, I diagnosed it, I know exactly what's wrong with it, I know exactly how to fix it, I know exactly how to proceed, how to align the radio, right? I can do all that, but I need the part. No part, no fix, no matter what I do. And it's not like those radios are, you know, available, you know, for parts, meaning like you can buy a broken radio, because nobody sells those faulty, because they're, you know, worth $2,500 each when they work. And, you know, so even the broken one you would probably get for like $1,500, maybe $1,000, or at least few $100s. So yeah, Northridge fix fee. Yeah, I don't know how he does with those bench fees, but from what I read from the reviews, that video I made on the one of the reviews that the customer left, I don't remember, it was like $60 or something like that. So, you know, $60, that's a relatively fair bench fee, as long as you provide some value, right? Mine's 50, at least at the moment, right? It used to be 30, then 40, now it's 50, so it's slowly going up, but the prices of groceries go up even faster, so, you know, at this point, my bench fee would have to be $150 plus repair for me to even buy groceries nowadays. So yeah, those price hikes are crazy. Okay, we got 141 at the top, while we have 178 at the bottom. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So 30 some degrees of difference. Not bad. Not bad. The board is getting nice and toasty. Thermocouple is holding, not touching the cups. Yeah, I guess that is the, because on Intel sockets you have a window with cups, but at least you don't have anything at the back of the board, because those cups are on the top. But on AM5 you don't have cups at the top, so you can work freely on the socket, but you have cups at the bottom. So now you have to watch for those cups at the bottom so they don't fall, and you know, and they don't get moved by the thermocouple. You know, they are easier to fix though, easier than, you know, fixing the cups in the inside the little window there. Sure, but still, it's a, you know, it's a trade-off. There are no easy jobs, basically. Everything's a trade-off. Not a lot of people today, I see. Nobody, it's probably because the European, what do you call it? European viewers are asleep now, so we can only rely on North America, South America, maybe Asia, if people don't have things to do in the morning. Mortal Socket Combat, finish him. Yes, sir. Will do. Will do. We're at 183, so just a few more minutes and we're ready to lift. I'm gonna set it to 210 now. We probably don't need 210, but I'll set it on 210. There you go. Mm-hmm. 183 at the bottom, and I guess how am I gonna do it? I hate when this happens. Let me do this. I'm gonna turn the camera so you can see the machine more than just my monkey face. Yeah, and we're gonna start removing the socket in a minute. If it had a short on socket, then the temperature extra helps pull these pins affected by current. I mean, it should, you know, if there is a short on V-core, it's not like the PMIC is gonna keep pushing the energy. Most likely not. So it's not gonna be, you know, the PMIC should turn off the V-core as soon as the short is detected. The short detection might take a little longer though, because you know, there's very little difference between the CPU being there and the short being there. Difference of couple ohms maybe, not even in some cases. So I would not hang on. I would not expect the pads to be, the socket to be fused to the board because of the short on the socket. So no, I've never seen it, but we'll see. There is one board over there that is extra stinky, and it smells of burned silicone, basically, right? And it does have busted socket, so we'll see. But I would not expect it. Not on the V core. Because obviously, I mean, it also depends on the board, obviously. But on the V core, the power management is always going to be much better. It's going to be much more precise, because CPU is an expensive piece of equipment on the board, and the board needs to make sure that it at least doesn't damage the CPU. So I wouldn't think that the things that you see on the regular power lines, the power rails, where the PMIC shorts out and it fuses to the board. Sure, but not not the CPU socket itself. Even if you connect a shorted CPU to the board, right? The V core is not going to go up, right? There's going to be 0 volts on V core. The caps that did burn last 2 years in news, AMD and Intel's. Oh, I did not hear about that. Steven, evening. Good evening, my buddy. How you doing? Hello, Mr. Rhinestone Cowboy. Star Spangled TY Rodeo? What's the TY Rodeo? Or maybe you meant to say YouTube, YT. I'm so bad at decoding those abbreviations you guys do. Guess I just have to learn. What are you working on, Steven? Doing any work in the shop today, or just lazy Tuesday? Oh yeah, YouTube. Right. YouTube Rodeo. Okay, are we ready here? Preheating is, yeah, we're at 201. We got 160 at the top, and we got 200 at the bottom. So we're 40 degrees apart. That's good. So this should be it should be easy, but just a couple more minutes. 161. That's going to be very well preheated board. What do we have? Just writing small claims lawsuit complaints to non-complaint right to repair companies. Non-compliant right to repair companies. Yeah, that's what I would expect, Steven. You are a lead lawyer in our community. If I had any law issues, suing someone or being sued, you're the first person I'm gonna contact. Although I'm in Georgia, so the law might be a little different, but Buffer. Internet needs a battery. Oh, your stream is buffering? Yeah, it sucks. I don't think it's on my side, but who knows. It's, let's see. I got the stream on the phone too, just to see. But I think we're good. I think it looks alright. It does say that the current bitrate on the stream is a little bit low, and this is like low latency, but not very low latency, right? I can do lower latency, and probably the, you know, probably it would help, but that means that I have much more delay between the chat and live, so. Causing, oh my god. Gamer, I got that. Gamer, Subman, do I lost too much? No, we are ready to lift the socket in a minute here. So it should be exciting in just a minute here. I'm gonna start the profile. Okay, we're at 210 at the bottom, 166 at the top. I'm stopping the preheating and starting the profile. Profile has been started. 33 minutes and 45 seconds of preheating. That's not bad. When I rush, I can do preheating in like 15, 18 minutes. Sometimes I do that, and it also works. It also depends on the board. This one is tiny, so this one preheats quickly. Okay, 171. We're going to 205, and at 205, few minutes, and well, not few minutes, like 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, and we're lifting. Let's see. Hope to get 35-40 people to file on Hako in Oregon. Oh, the repairability. Yeah, you did mention something about that. Like a surgeon. For the very first time. 10K each, no attorney allowed. Okay, that sucks. Kakak, don't worry. I should try one someday with a paint stripper and heat gun. You mean socket removal? Okay, what do we have? 190. The socket should be getting a nice loosey-goosey. Let's see. Oh, it's nice and warm. But I'm not too hot, actually. But I will be as soon as I start wicking this baby. Okay, we're at the final step. 193. Now let's see, is it gonna lift a little bit? It probably should already. Yeah, it's lifting. Yeah, but it's holding too much now. So you don't want to pull too early, because you're gonna pull some pods. That's something you don't want to do, and something I haven't done in a long time. So I don't want my first time in a long time to be on the live stream. 204, but the actual temperature is 200. 198, because I'm breathing close to the socket. So 205. The profile keeps 205 for 160 seconds, but usually it's ready after 20 to 45. That's why the profile is set to 160, but it is expected from you, the technician, to pull the socket and stop the profile when it's ready. So it's a little prolonged. It doesn't mean you should keep it for 160, but it depends on the socket, depends on the board, obviously. 205 is not gonna kill anything. It shouldn't damage any caps. Although on this board, all the caps are, well, not all of them, but the caps on the core are all solid state, so we don't have to worry about that. Let's see. I'll give it 10 more seconds. It is quite ready to be lifted, but I prefer to keep it a few more seconds just to be sure. The temperature is pretty stable, actually. I'm pretty happy with the temperature. Yeah, a little bit too much resistance. Yeah, they say it's not safe to do it with this, and I agree. But it's just a matter of experience. I've been doing it this way for a while. I've done so many sockets this way, so it's perhaps not something I recommend, but I've heard all kinds of issues, because a lot of people ask me about this kind of stuff on a regular basis. So I've heard of a lot of issues that I haven't had, luckily, but I'm aware of them. So when I give advice to the newcomers, I account for those issues that I heard of, that I've never had, but I've heard of. But this is going to be fun to align. I don't know if we're going to be able to align it properly. How can you recognize a German? Don't worry, he'll tell you. Hello from Germany. Unlike Moldovan. Okay, I guess Moldovians don't brag about being from Moldova. Actually, I have few friends from Belarus. It's the Belarusians that don't advertise they're from Belarus, because they're usually good people. They're just living in the country that is Russian. I don't know, the Russian slave, I guess. So friends that I have from Belarus, they always say they're Polish, and they also have Polish citizenship. So so it's not like they're lying, but they don't advertise being from Belarus. Okay, the socket is off. There we go. Nice and steady. So now let's stop the profile. Stop the profile, turn on the fan. Move the heater. Remove the thermocouple. Investigate. Examine. Yeah, we didn't pull any pods or anything. Let's do some smoke now. Only the best flux from blackhorserepairs. It smokes, it burns, it works. We'll see what Tony says about my flux. I would think he's a tough customer, so I don't know if he's gonna like it. And 180 on the soldering iron. Oh, but before, I always forget. First, let's get some leaded solder. Let's get a nice big blob over here. Okay, that should do it. And let's see, is it gonna work? It's giving some issues, but as soon as we get the blob all across the socket, it should go away. And there. Yeah, the blob doesn't want to flow. It happens sometimes. Okay, let's start a preheater. Because this is not going well. And let's get more flux. Yeah. So it cooled down. This board cools down very quickly. That's why the blob doesn't want to flow. But with the preheater, yeah, it already solidified over here. Yeah. It cooled down very quickly. Too quickly. And you don't want to scrape across the pins, you just want to move the blob, right? You don't even want to touch the board. Come on. Come on, it's so hot and it doesn't want to flow. That's unusual. But as I said, every board is different. No matter how many boards you've done before, you'll always find the one that doesn't want to cooperate. Sometimes it flows really nicely, and sometimes it just won't. But okay, let's keep moving it. There's flux in my eyes, but it doesn't bother me. Might be a little itchy if you're not used to, but yeah. Okay, now the blob is flowing because the preheater is doing its job now. Let's drop the temperature. 365. So if you drop the temperature on the soldering iron, the blob will stick better to it. But it's just cooling down too quickly. Let's bring the top heater, blow some heat on it. There. See, I dropped the temperature on the soldering iron and it sticks a lot better to the blob. It sticks a lot better to the soldering iron. But still not what I would expect, but there. Okay. Yeah, we just need to bring the temperature of the board a little higher. There you go. Now it's behaving like it should. There. And it's staying you know, kind of like behaves kind of like mercury. Mercury never goes where you want it to go. It goes where it wants to go. Because it's both liquid and heavy, much like leaded solder. That's one of the properties of leaded solder that we like. It's heavy, because the tin solder, the lead-free solder, is lighter. That's one of the reasons why the leaded solder flows better. It's just heavier. Okay, just as long as we get all the pins. Okay, and now let's see if we can move the blob away. But of course, it's not going to flow where you want it to flow. It's going to flow where it wants to flow. There you go. Okay. Okay, now let's kill the preheater so the solder solidifies. And when it solidifies, I can pick it up with tweezers. What do we have in the chat? Vaping. Oh, I lost a lot of chat, I guess. Unlike Moldavian Russian manage. Vaping time, yes sir. Do you put the board in an incubator before every BGA process? No, I preheat on the preheater. I preheated on the BGA station. There's the big solder blob. I preheated on the preheater. It kind of depends on the board, and it also depends on the time of the year. If it's very humid, then I like to dry the boards before I work on them. But normally, not really. I just reheat it on the preheater. About half an hour on the preheater, and it's all good. Okay, now let's start the preheater again. Our temperature on the bottom is 171. I'm gonna wait a second for it to bring the temperature higher before I start wicking. The amber flux looks very amberly. You and your pets won't develop cancer from bad flux. Yes, sir. My flux is cancer-free. As far as I know, it doesn't cause cancer. He uses a heater underboard. Yes, sir. That's what I do. I asked it because people say that this is to prevent against popcorn during the BGA. Correct. The popcorning is a result of moisture in the board. If the board is moist, there is some moisture in the board. If you heat it up quickly, that water, you know how the steam engine works, right? That water, when it changes from liquid to gas, it creates a lot of pressure and a lot of energy. So yes, it will just blow the board. But that's kind of rare, because it will only happen if you heat it up quickly. If you heat it up slowly, you don't have to worry about that. Even if the board is a little moist. Just do the slow preheating. That's where Rework Pro comes in. It allows you to preheat the board slowly. But you still have to do a little bit of manual labor to do it correctly. No, that's a good vape. The trick to this is to not put too much pressure on the board, but on AM5 sockets it's pretty easy. It's on the laptop CPUs, it's very easy to scrape the board. So you have to get it really hot. Oh, and by the way, my stencils came in yesterday. Yesterday or today. So we're gonna do the CPU swap on that Dell pretty soon here. We'll see, because right now we have so many boards for the sockets that I don't know. We have to do a few of these. Okay, almost one side is done, or one side is almost done. Then we're gonna do the bottom side, and we'll see how much fun it's gonna be to align the socket. I expect it's gonna be rather difficult, but we'll see. Okay, now the bottom. I don't know, am I in their way? No. Okay. Come on. Did I start the preheater? Yeah. Okay, we're at, oh yeah, we're at 202 at the bottom. Yeah, so this should be soaking a lot better than it is. Come on. Just a few more pods. Get it nice and steady. All of the solder needs to disappear. Now if you leave just a little bit of solder, just tiny speck of solder anywhere, the socket's not gonna align and you're gonna have a bad time. Very bad time. Because it's gonna be, you know, the socket is not gonna be moving across the socket, or across the board properly. It's gonna be catching those little specks of solder, and it's especially frustrating because you can't really feel that, but what you see is like you move it a little bit to the left, it's too far to the left. So you move it a little bit to the right, it's too far to the right, because it doesn't want to sit in that sweet spot. That's the main challenge of this, but it looks like we're done. Yeah, so I just keep moving the wick until I see that no new solder is being soaked into the wick. That's how I know it's all clean, even though I don't see underneath the solder, because underneath the flux, right? Because it's nice and amber in there. Okay, this should be good. Now let's stop the preheater, and while it's hot, let's get a paper towel and soak it like this. And already when you scrape it with the paper towel, you should already be able to tell whether it's clean. If it's catching the paper, that means there's some solder left on it. Okay, perfect. All right, now for the most grueling part. It needs to cool down a bit because the flux is gonna start burning too quickly. Now we want only a small, tiny layer of flux. Because if you put too much, the socket's not going to drop. Because this flux has a little bit of body to it. And there, that should be it. Now let it bubble, so all the bubbles go away, and it becomes nice, shiny surface. And then open the socket, inspect the socket before placing it, because you don't want to discover after the procedure that the socket was damaged in the shipping or something like that. And we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. The outline did not stay in some places. Yeah, so I don't know. Is this aligned? Now, one thing that one trick you can use is, as you're seeing from the side camera, you can see that line over here, right here. So you see that line? It's got to be parallel to the socket, and that's what we're gonna use. Outline. Yeah, the outline disappeared. Sometimes it happens. Nothing we can do about that. Okay, thermocouple, sit. Turn off the fan. Lower the heater. Okay, yeah, it looks from the side, it looks okay. Vaping time. Do you put the board in? Do you put here's this heater? Does your software come with 3 profiles loaded? My software doesn't come with profiles, but the profiles are here in the community tab, right? And there's 2 pages of profiles, and you can look for whatever you wanna. Like if you wanna find all the profiles by RAF, then you can search for RAF, right? Then you have all the profiles that are by RAF, and sometimes they're by other people because they downloaded my profile and re-uploaded it as themselves, right? But if you're looking for, say, AM5 socket, search, and you have all the profiles for AM5 sockets by me and other people, right? So when you download the application, right, this list is going to be empty, right? So you can store your profiles. Come on. You can store your profiles here, right? So you can store this one, just hit save, and it'll be on the list, right? But I rely on the community profiles. So, you know, in a nutshell, yes and no. You get profiles when you get the software. It just, you know, it's the community profiles. Is that Bandwick? Sir Mix-a-Flux. I like him trick. I like him fake. Okay. What is it, Arch? All right. All right, let's preheat. So we're at 52 minutes. It's taking longer than it usually does. Okay, when you hit preheat button, that is set to 10 minutes, right? It's going to be preheating for 10 minutes. You can use long preheat and set it to 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, what have you. And the temperature you set on the Rex at the bottom over here. And yeah, to prevent popcorning, just if you're not sure, just set it for 35 minutes on the preheater and start the profile after that. And 35 minutes, I would say 120 maybe degrees at the bottom, right? If you want it a little higher, then actually, if you really suspect that your board is damp, like really wet, there's a lot of moisture in the board, then set it maybe to 80, 85, 90 degrees. So keep it below the water boiling temperature and keep it for 45 minutes and just observe, right? If you see some smell, if you notice some smell or you see some evaporation of the board, then, you know, keep it as long as you, until you don't see that, right? Other than that, I just use. Well, usually, you know, when I receive the boards, they usually I don't usually start working on them right away because of that very reason. I like them to sit in the shop for you know, a day or two, so they dry out, right? Typically, I don't get wet boards, but yeah, it also kind of depends, you know, on your location. Georgia is rather humid. It's a humid state for sure, but you know, it's not like UK or or some islands basically. So if you're on the island, then yeah, say even, I don't know, southern Florida or something like that, yeah, that's going to be a real problem for you. So you need to keep the humidity in the shop low. My humidity in the shop right now is 35%, which is it's okay. I don't do, typically when I read 60-70% of humidity, that's when I definitely preheat for longer, right? That's why I have the hygrometer in the shop always. But if the humidity is low, then just, you know, 15-20 minutes of preheating and it should be good. Sir Mixaflox and organic. Use the force. Socket wars. Yeah. All right, hang on. I gotta go see what's going on over there. I'll leave you guys with the preheating for a second. All right, what's our temperature? Yay, off the clock. I'm gonna miss this easy work. Yeah, lead farmer. That was a long day. Damn, 9 o'clock? You're off at 9 o'clock? What time did you start working? At noon? No, not even at noon. So at 1 p.m. I hope you started working at 1 p.m. if you're getting off if you're getting off at 9 p.m. Start the fan. 12:30 to 9 on Tuesdays. Oh, I didn't know that, because I was thinking of doing a stream like around 4 or 5 p.m. because I figured Lead Farmer is gonna be off work, but I guess I was wrong. Well, I was going to, but then I had to finish that OLED switch, and it took a lot longer than I thought. Then I was alone with my son. My wife went to the store, so I said, "Okay, get me Heineken, right? Get me some beer." And after an hour, I call her. What's taking so long? And she's saying, "Well, I'm getting a pedicure." Well, you should have told me. I was waiting. So I was waiting with the stream for my wife to come back. So no. So that was a lot of delay. Oh, it was a slow day. Nice. I mean, I don't like slow days, or it kind of depends, right? If I'm working remotely, then you know, if there's a slow day, then okay, I can do other stuff, right? So it's not a problem. But when I'm working in the office and it's a slow day, I don't have much to do. Oh, that is killing me. I hate being bored. Because then I'm thinking, like, I could have been doing so many things right now, but I'm stuck in the office because I have to be in the office. But I don't have anything to do in the office. So what am I doing here? All right, what do we have? 163 at the top, 195 at the bottom, 196. Okay, about 2 more minutes and we're starting the profile. And we're gonna see the socket drop. You guys are gonna have to tell me when the socket drops, because I'm not gonna see it probably. But the probability that it's aligned is relatively small, relatively thin, slim to none. And you know, in those cases you could put a lot more flux, so the socket is just literally floating, and maybe it'll catch its position. But if you move by one pod, then yeah, it's gonna catch the position, but the wrong position. So I don't know. That's why with the sockets without outlines, or the boards without socket outlines, they have much lower probability of success. And like in this case, you know, the outline just kind of disappeared after wicking. No, it happens. There's nothing we can do about that. That's why no guarantee at all on these socket replacements. But it's worth a try. That's why it's cheap. Maybe one day I'll figure something out to get better. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll just get a lot of equipment to just test these boards right after after the process. But even, you know, after you replace the socket, the board doesn't work. So what do? You know, well, let's test the socket. Socket tests fine, but the board doesn't work, right? So what do? So you just start fixing the board. But your job was to replace the socket. And that's what you charged for, not for fixing the board. So yeah, flexible side cam to view the pins. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. You can see here, you know, the view is good, but what does it give you? I don't know. I can probably improve the side camera that I have right now, because this is the crappy, cheap, you know, M-scope camera for like 20 bucks. It's especially good because it can be very far from the socket. That's what we want, because there's high temperature over here, right? So you want it to be relatively far. But yeah, I could improve the side camera, but in some cases, you know, you just can't see at that angle, because if I move the camera any lower, then the memory is going to be in the way, so you're not going to see the actual balls. It's tough business. That's why nobody does that. I'm the only one doing those replays, at least in the US, because I know a lot of people in Europe do those. The majority of my sales of Rework Pro are in Europe, Asia, you know, all kinds of. I haven't had a single sale for China though. I guess they like their own software there, or they expect that my software comes with Trojans and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. All right, what are we at? 192, so just a minute more, and we're starting the profile. We got 160 at the top, which is good. We're at 1 hour and 1 minute of the profile run. Oh, and we dropped to 184 now, because I started the ventilation and my wife opened the door. Yeah. And we dropped to 151 at the top, or because my preheating stopped. Oh yeah, that's a known bug. I gotta fix that, because I noticed that a few days ago. I just didn't get around to it. The profile will stop like sometimes 20 seconds before the actual timer in the Rework Pro finishes, or sometimes it's even a minute of difference. So, you know, Rework Pro thinks that we're still preheating, but the temperature is going down. So, and it cools down very quickly. So, that's too bad. That's too bad, because that's going to mess up my profile now. And I think will need to replace the liquid in my ultrasonic cleaner, which is always a pain, because it's a 30-liter ultrasonic cleaner, big baby. So there's a little drain on the side, but the way I have it set up, I can't use that drain. So first I have to remove some liquid off the top because I can't lift it. I mean, I could. No, probably not. No, I have to remove some liquid first, then move it so I have access to the drain, then drain it, clean it, and of course, you know, we gotta put quite a few chemicals in there. You know, the distilled water is cheap, but you know, alcohol, cobalt blue, and all that, it takes a few bucks. So when I calculate all that, I don't really make money on those socket replacements. Pinspector Con. Right. Yeah, I'll look into that. Then 30 liter, I thought mine at 22.5 was large. Well, 22.5 is a large one, but I need a 30 liter because I have to fit, you know, motherboards in there. And some of those motherboards are pretty big. So 22.5 is good for laptops, tablets, you know, that kind of stuff. I also have those little ones that hold, I don't even know how much, 1 liter? I think 1 liter. For some reason I can't see them right now. Where are my small cleaners? Huh. Yeah, I cleaned the shop. Oh yeah, there they are. I think they're 1 liter. Or 1.5 maybe. So they're good for phone boards and general small electronics. You can clean glasses in them, or I don't know, what have you. So I have very small and very big one. 2 small ones and 1 big one. But for motherboards, you need a big one. And the basket isn't even big enough to hold the majority of the boards. I have to remove the basket so I can fit the board. Uh, 3 ounces per gallon. What is that? Monothrenylamine? MEA. Okay. And arcade boards, yeah. I use cobalt blue liquid. It's also around I think 1 ounce per gallon. So it doesn't have to be that precise. Besides, it kind of depends what flax you use. The Kingbow flax can't be removed with alcohol. So if you just put the mixture of distilled water and alcohol, even 99% isopropyl, it's very tough to clean Kingbow flax. It will create the gunk, and yeah, it's tough. But if you do distilled water and cobalt blue, it cleans nicely because it's water soluble. My flax is alcohol soluble, provided that the glycerin has, evaporated. So if you just want to remove the gunk left over, the mixture of alcohol and distilled water is perfectly fine. But for Kingbow flax, cobalt blue and distilled water, and that gets the job done. Actually, with you need cobalt blue for Kingbow, because I tried with distilled water only, but it still doesn't work. So it all depends on what flax you use. By the way, you haven't tried my flax, have you? MEA is active ingredient in Branson EC. I have no idea what you're talking about, man. Okay, we are at 200 at the bottom. And 165 at the top. 164 now that I breathed on the socket. So that means we're gonna start the profile in just a second here. It's just gonna take a minute or two. Oh, Branson EC is industrial PCB cleaner. Okay, I gotta look into that. Maybe it'll be easier, because you don't want to keep the board in the ultrasonic cleaner for too long, right? You want it nice and clean, but if you keep it for too long, you can cause some damage, and that could be either components detaching, or solder cracking or something, or as something as simple as the markings on the capacitors disappear. Some markings on the board disappear. Obviously the stickers and stuff, that all is gonna fall off. So if you can reduce the time of ultrasonic cleaning to like maybe 5 minutes, that's perfect. In my case, in case of my liquid and stuff and my flux, I usually do anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes. Typically you don't need more than 25 minutes, but some boards are stubborn, and they will require 30 minutes in the cleaner. But you're risking some damage, or at least some visible damage, some visible markings removed. Charles Branson, Clean Wish. Is that a song, or? Have you looked at the data sheet, cobalt blue, see what the active ingredients are? I have not, no, because they don't... I know it's an alkaline. That's why it leaves the solder, nice and shiny. And it cleans the corrosion and stuff like that. So that's what I know, but what kind of alkaline? What are the ingredients? I don't know. I don't think they even put it on the bottle. They just say it just says cobalt blue. A movie from 1980, Death Wish. I think I've heard of it. I think I've heard the name. 1980. I definitely have seen the movie, because if it's from 1980, I definitely have seen the movie, but I don't recognize it. Okay, we are at 170 almost, 210 at the bottom. Stop the preheating and start the profile. And now let's see the socket drop. He made like 3 or 4. You mean movies? 3 or 4 movies? Oh, you mean like the parts? Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure I've seen that. I need to watch that movie. I will. Well, and the mechanic. Yeah, I'm not into movies anymore. I used to be. I used to watch a lot of movies. So yeah, I've seen a lot of movies. But now in the past decade and a half, I don't really watch movies anymore. I don't really listen to music anymore. It's just, I don't know. You get older, your priorities change, family, kids, work, of course, trying to make ends meet. You have less time for pleasures like that. But what I do watch on regular basis is Colombo. You guys know that's from 60s, 70s. And actually the last episode of Colombo was from like 2005 or something like that. The very last episode. Not the best, but I mean they did too much work with the camera, not enough work with the storyline. You guys remember Colombo? It was so popular when I was growing up. You know, it was always on the TV. Like I don't remember, every Thursday or something like that. And then there was like pretty much every day of the week was specific genre, right? So you know, every Tuesday it was some incurable disease, you know. Every Wednesday it was an action movie. Every Thursday it was some kind of classic, and you know, that kind of stuff. I remember that. I was a kid back then, of course. That was, I don't know, maybe 90s. Cross-eyed detective. Well, he wasn't cross-eyed. He had a glass eye. He died recently, actually. Well, maybe not super recently. But yeah, a few years ago he died. He had a glass eye from when he was a kid. He got, I don't remember, some kind of disease, and they had to remove the eye. So that was his iconic eye, the right eye. He was missing right eye. I also don't see much in my right eye. Yeah, Steven, don't you have a glass eye as well? I think you mentioned something about that. What I use is Google TV from Walmart under 20 bucks. Oh, well, what I use is a smart TV, and on the smart TV you have a, oh my god, why can I not remember the name of it? Tubi. And you can watch a lot of those old movies. It's with, you know, with ads, but it's free. So that's usually that's where I watch Colombo. So if you want to catch some episodes of Colombo, all of them are available on Tubi with ads. Oh, your wife has a prosthetic eye. Okay, yeah, I remember you mentioning something about prosthetic eye, but I sorry about that. I thought it was you that had glass eye. Because they look, you know, now they make them really well. Like they actually move. They look exactly like the real eye, and they move along with, you know, where it's supposed to move, so you wouldn't even tell. A friend of mine had a glass eye, and I found out, I've known him for years, and I found out years into our friendship that he had a glass eye. And I was surprised because, yeah, it looks so real. I wouldn't tell just by looking at it. They make pretty good glass eyes nowadays. Oh, she's due for a new one. How expensive those things are? They're probably pretty pricey, huh? Do they do like a scan of your real eye and just match the, you know, by the picture? And do they like do some measurements or something? Elon should make a special eye? Well, I would not trust Elon making medical either equipment or something. He was supposed to do the respirators, right? The ventilators for the, you know, when there was pandemic, and he delivered nothing. He was supposed to make a miniature submarine to save the kids. Jesus Christ, that man is delusional. That man spends too much time on Twitter. Oh, they are hand painted. Nice. That's why they look so real. Awesome. But what are they made of, actually? Because we keep calling them glass size, but are they actually made of glass? I don't think, because the glass would be very heavy. I don't know how heavy eyes are, but I would expect glass to be heavier than an eye. Okay, looks like our socket dropped and the profile went through all the way. Let's turn on the heater and let it cool down. Murderlink. Elon Moronicus. Yes. Does Elon still working on that brain chip? I don't know. As soon as he lands the Starship on Mars, I guess he's gonna go back to the Neuralink. Now, Elon doesn't do anything anymore other than AI, because he can use AI to make AI, right? He probably keeps asking the Grok, how do I up the stock price, and the Grok comes up with ideas, and that's what Elon does. Because he doesn't really have... I've never seen Elon having a original idea of anything, right? He just repurposes old technology and just slaps his label on it and calls it innovation. It's crazy. So no, I don't think he's gonna invent anything anytime soon. Wouldn't be surprised if he started working on tasers and flamethrowers for eyes. Although I guess that relationship, that bromance between Musk and Trump deteriorated, so I don't think he's gonna be involved in politics much anymore. That kind of backfired on him, and the Cybertruck and all that. So yeah, I don't expect him to be in the news for much longer. That company should have died a long time ago. By that company, I mean the whole Elon Musk cult. I don't know, because how long can you just keep promising stuff and delivering nothing? If the Southern rockets were exploding like the Starship rockets do, NASA would be out of the business. No one would give them any money, and for some reason his rockets just keep exploding, and we keep cheering that yeah, everything after takeoff is an icing on the cake, even though the takeoff, the pod completely is destroyed after the rocket. He causes major damages to the ecosystem, not to mention Starship just kind of dropping from the sky, and somehow they spin it as a success. Crazy fellas. Okay, so apparently the glass eyes are made out of acrylic. Okay, it's much lighter than the glass. Yeah, well, but it scratches more. But I guess I don't scratch my eyes very often, so I guess that's not a problem. I hope Musk shows up on my X suit. Are you suing X? Good. Good. If you need a signature or something, let me know. Because I think he meant to write Musk, not Mush. But I don't know. Maybe it did mean Mush. H is just one key away from K, so that's what I would expect. Okay, let's move the head over here. Let it cool down. And now typically I don't move the board until it drops to 50 degrees. That's like my rule. I don't see any damage or any flux on the socket. I don't know what temperature it dropped at, but since instead of watching the process I was just yapping, we don't know what temperature it dropped at. But 160 seconds on 205, it's not going to damage anything. And at least it's going to ensure that definitely everything is soldered on. But that provided that our alignment was good. So far our socket seems solid, but we'll see. We'll see. A few more minutes and we're gonna lift it. Brain mush. I'll live stream the court hearing on the 17th if I'm allowed. Okay, 17th. Today's 14th. I'll definitely join in. Send me post a link in my Discord. I'll definitely join and I'll see if I can route some traffic to your stream. Oh, 17th of November. Okay, so that's another month. Okay. Are you gonna stream like last time? The car ride? That was pretty fun. I was already in bed, ready because I had to wake up early the next day when you were driving. But yeah. And surprisingly, yeah, I remember that because I said, "Watch the road, man! Watch the road!" And I remember you taking so long to read my message. Like that's the opposite of what I said. Watch the road, not the chat. But no, that was fun. Well, that was a big success too. So. It wasn't just for fun, right? What do we have? 85. It's cooling down very quickly. Let's start the fan. And that's gonna speed up the cooling process. And I'm gonna test it tomorrow because it'll need a ultrasonic cleaning. That's gonna be 15 minutes or so. So Pumpkin 100. Hello, first time stopping by. Love your videos. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. Well, you caught us just at the end of the stream. The job is done. Now we're just waiting for the board to cool down, and we're gonna be done for today. But we'll do probably another one tomorrow. We'll see. I have quite a few ECMs coming and some other stuff. You know, obviously this is not very stream friendly material, because the majority of this is just waiting for it to heat up, waiting to cool down, and you know, just about the most exciting part is wicking the board. Maybe aligning, but other than that, it's not quite a stream material. Add alcohol while it's hot. So the reason I don't do that, at this temperature at least, is because first, the alcohol would be dripping on my preheater, right? I don't want that. Second, you're cooling the board a little abruptly, you know? So that's also not too good. Because that alcohol is going to evaporate very quickly, so you have to put a lot of that alcohol. So what I do instead, when it cools down to 50, I put a lot of alcohol on it and wait for it to evaporate. Then put more alcohol and wait for it to evaporate. And that softens the flux. And then, you know, in the ultrasonic cleaner, I have plenty of alcohol there. So it typically gets the job done. So yeah, but primarily I don't want to ruin the bottom heater, because it's a big one and I don't have the replacement. I have the smaller one, but I don't have the replacement for this one. So if it breaks, I will have to install the Elstein heaters, which is something that I probably should do anyways. Let's see, Steven, yeah, will be similar to when I sued PayPal. Got their paralegal booted. Nice. Joys of the job, yeah. That's yeah, some jobs are boring. What are you gonna do? We have to do some boring jobs. Want you test the board? I will test the board, yes. Not today though, because first I have to put it through the ultrasonic cleaning cycle, and after that it's gonna be wet, right? Because you gotta submerge it in the liquid for 20 minutes. So you don't want to test it after that. So I test on the next day. So yes, but we will test this board. We will find out if it works, or at least if the CPU gets warm. So yeah. Stream just shows how it really is. Really is. Yes, sir. As you can see, because normally my socket replacement videos are like 8 minutes long in total, maybe 15 minutes and tops, right? Way below 20 minutes. And the majority of the video is me yapping about the board, or retrospective afterwards, right? But now you see how boring it is, how tedious it is, and when you don't have the benefit of the sped up footage. Yes, sir. Let's see. If I would have known then what I know now, I would have got a default against them. They should know better. No legal counsel and small claims. Okay. Well, keep suing, and you'll get better at it, right? They need to send an officer of the company to represent. I give a dip in 99% IPA after US ultrasonic bath to assist in drying. Ralph's videos are fun. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that's your opinion. I do try to make them a little fun, but definitely in comparison with Tony, the Northwest Repairer, I fall flat on that front. His videos are a lot of fun usually. Well, not always. Sometimes he focuses more on the actual technicals and stuff, but the majority of his videos are super fun to watch. Mine are not as entertaining. I don't like to sue. Last resort. Yeah, of course. Nobody likes to sue. Nobody likes being sued. For sure. Okay, we're at 62, 61, 62, and 62 at the bottom. So give it 5 more degrees. I'll remove it at 55. That is like some arbitrary line that I set for myself. Like I wait for the 50 degrees. Is it, you know, does it have to be 50 degrees? Probably not, but you know, that's what I do. That's my procedure, right? I know it works. That's why I keep doing it. Rinse and repeat. We'll see. Well, that's why on when I speed up the footage, then I can see when the socket actually dropped at what temperature, right? And actually, you know, because I recorded in the regular, it's not like I recorded at high speed or low speed, whatever. So I look at it on the raw video before I speed it up. I just move the slider and I see when it dropped, and I check the temperature. And usually these sockets, because it's lead-free solder on these, or leaded solder on these, so they drop at like 185, 189, 190. They usually already drop, but I keep them a little longer for you know, to make a good connection. Pretty much. 58 degrees. Northwest repair is funny as hell. Yeah. We like watching water boil. You know, if you watch the water, it's not gonna boil. The saying in Poland is that the patient cook boils the water the fastest, or you know, boils the water first, and it's basically because if you just keep taking the lid off to see if the water is boiling, and keep putting it back on, then you just reduce the temperature, right? And the patient cook that doesn't remove the lid gets the water to boil faster. Something to know. A little piece of useless knowledge for you. All right, 57, and oh, it's 54 at the bottom. So yeah, okay, let's check it out. It shouldn't burn. There we go. All right, what do we have? Okay, corners are solid. So I like to just put my nail underneath and see if I can lift it on each side, right? If I cannot, and there's no movement, that means it's soldered on correctly, right? And then I just kind of move it like that, because it should withstand that. Because sometimes if you mess it up, which is, you know, something that I have messed up many times before I learned how to do it properly, the socket seemed solid, but if you start tearing it like this, it'll detach because it's only holding on the flux. So essentially you put it in the ultrasonic cleaner and you remove the board without the socket. Essentially that's what it looks like. But this one looks good. So the outline, the remaining part of the outline that I see, it looks aligned. Plus, if it wasn't aligned, it wouldn't be holding on in all four corners. So I'm gonna assume it is aligned. I'm gonna assume we didn't damage the PCH, and I'm gonna assume it's working, but we will test it. We definitely will test it, but it's not gonna be today, because, as I said, we have to first clean it. It's gonna be wet, and you shouldn't turn on the devices when they're wet. But it looks good. Yeah, should be fine. Yeah, I see the remaining outline. I see it looks okay. It looks okay to me. But primarily what I used was the outline that is like inside, that you can't see from the outside, but when you look through the microscopic camera from the side, you can see it. So as long as it's parallel, it should be fine. And once the socket drops, you shouldn't see that line anymore. And that's what we see here. So everything checks out, so it should be fine. Alrighty, another victim saved, or at least we'll see. Because since the outline got removed already, ultrasonic cleaner should remove the rest of it. So there should be no signs of any work on it. So maybe we can RMA it if it doesn't work. But if it does work, I might consider actually purchasing this one. It's got decent connectivity over here. It's like a nice tiny little server board, and I'm gonna need a little tiny local server for my application, my eBay selling application, and you know, processing. So it processes orders, right? But it needs to be on 24/7, right? So I'm gonna need a computer like that. I was thinking of just utilizing one of the laptops. I got plenty of them, and probably that's what I'll do. But I would prefer something a little more stable, a little more efficient. So such tiny computer, I can just, you know, without the monitor, without the keyboard or anything, I just hook it up to the network, and I just connect to it remotely if I have to do anything over there. All right, through remote desktop. Let's see, what do we have here? Company. I really enjoyed the Notebook 31's videos. I don't speak Russian, just some words. But I love the videos, very intuitive. Notebooks 31's videos. I haven't seen the channel, but I don't speak Russian either, so that's probably why I don't know the guy. Need X-ray machine. What for? Yeah, I don't speak. I don't read Cyrillic. I don't speak Russian. But not only Russian language uses Cyrillic, Ukrainian as well, and few others. So there are different languages though. Moldavian or Moldovan. Alrighty, fellas, looks like we're done. The board is done. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. We are 2 beers in, so I'm gonna get something to eat. It's almost 10 o'clock, so I'm pretty tired, but I had a late start today. Normally I wake up pretty early, but today I still woke up early but went back to sleep. So I had a late start. That's why I decided to do it, do the stream in the evening, because I figured, yeah, I have enough energy. Although this day really drained me, especially with that Nintendo Switch. That really took a lot out of me. But it's done. It's working. I tested it. Steven, see ya, Ruff. Wish I could have a beer with you. Well, catch a plane to Georgia. I have a couch. Feel free. Yum yum. Gremlins. Yes. Alrighty, yeah. Let's get some food. I gotta eat something and get some sleep. Maybe I'll watch some Columbo. Why not? Oh, why not? Okay. Let's take this off. And we're done. Alright, thank you guys again. And I shall see you guys most likely tomorrow. And in the morning I'll release my video with OLED USB-C port replacement. Alrighty. Peace, guys.